Have you ever loved someone who didn't choose you, but somehow you still chose them, even after they walked away? Even after they gave their heart to someone else? Even after you knew you were the only one still holding on? That's the part people don't talk about. How loyalty can turn into heartbreak. How love can stay, even when it shouldn't. And I wish I could say I stopped. But I didn't. Not right away. Not even close. It didn't start like something painful. It started like something soft, something normal, something that felt safe. I met them in a way that wasn't dramatic. No big movie moment, just a regular day, a regular conversation. But somehow, it stuck. They had this way of making things feel lighter. Like the world wasn't so heavy when they were around. We talked about dumb things. What we wanted someday. What we missed from childhood. Late night thoughts. Little dreams. And I remember thinking, I don't know what this is yet, but it feels like something. At first, it was easy. They'd text first. They'd ask how my day was. They'd notice things, like when I sounded tired, like when I wasn't really okay. And that mattered. Because I wasn't used to being noticed like that. I wasn't used to someone caring in the small ways, the quiet ways. The kind of love that doesn't need to be loud. It just exists. We weren't perfect, but it felt real. I remember small moments more than anything. Sitting in the car with nowhere to go. Just music playing low. Their laugh when something caught them off guard. The way they looked at me when I was talking, like they actually wanted to listen. I held on to those things, because those moments felt like proof. Proof that I wasn't imagining it. Proof that I mattered to them. And I think that's how it happens. You don't fall in love because of some grand gesture. You fall in love because of the consistency. The comfort. The feeling of being chosen, even just a little. And for a while, I thought I was. But slowly, things changed. Not all at once. That's what makes it worse. It wasn't a clean break. It was a slow fading. Like watching someone walk away, one step at a time, while still smiling at you. They started replying later. Shorter messages. Less warmth. Less effort. And I told myself, they're just busy. They're stressed. It's not about me. Because it's easier to believe that than to believe someone is leaving, while you're still standing right there. I tried to be understanding. I tried not to ask for too much. I tried to be the kind of person who didn't need anything, because I was scared that needing them would push them further away. So I stayed quiet, even when it hurt, even when I felt it. That distance, that shift. The way their presence started feeling like something I had to earn. And I hated that. Because love shouldn't feel like earning. Love should feel like being held. But I kept holding on. I kept showing up. I kept choosing them. Even when they weren't choosing me back the same way anymore. Then there were signs. Little ones. The kind you ignore because you don't want the truth. They mentioned someone else more often. A name that came up casually. Too casually. They'd smile at their phone and not say why. They'd be distracted. Like they were somewhere else even when they were with me. And I started feeling like I was sharing space with a ghost. Like half of them was already gone. But I stayed because love does that. It makes you stay in places you shouldn't. It makes you wait for versions of people that don't exist anymore. I remember one night, I asked them quietly, "Are we okay?" And they paused, just for a second. But that second told me everything. They said, "Yeah, of course." But it didn't sound like "of course." It sounded like obligation. Like something they were saying, so they didn't have to talk about what was really happening. And I didn't push, because I didn't want to be the person begging, so I swallowed it. Again, the moment everything broke wasn't loud. There wasn't screaming. There wasn't some dramatic goodbye. It was quieter than that, which somehow made it worse. I found out through something small. A picture. A post. A story they didn't think I'd see. Them standing next to someone else, smiling in a way I hadn't seen in months. Their arm around them like it belonged there. Like it was natural. Like I was never part of that space. And I just stared at it. For a long time. Because my brain couldn't catch up. I kept thinking, no, this can't be what it looks like. But it was. It was exactly what it looked like. They chose someone else. And I wasn't even worth a conversation. Not a real one. Not a goodbye. Not a truth. Just replacement. I remember my hands shaking. Not because I was angry. Because I was hurt in a way that felt physical. Like something inside me actually cracked. And the worst part, I still didn't stop loving them. That's the part that makes me feel pathetic. I sat there, heartbreaking in silence. And all I could think was, how could you? But also, did I ever really have you? I texted them. Not something dramatic. Just, is this real? And hours passed. No answer. Just silence. That kind of silence that screams. That kind of silence that confirms. You were never as important as you thought. And that was it. That was the moment I realized. I was alone in this love. I had been alone for a while. I just didn't want to admit it. After that, everything slowed down. Life kept moving, but I didn't. I kept replaying everything, every conversation, every moment, trying to find the exact place where I lost them. Or maybe where I never truly had them. I kept blaming myself. Maybe I was too much. Maybe I wasn't enough. Maybe if I was prettier, smarter, easier. Maybe if I didn't care so deeply, they would have stayed. And that's such a dark place to live. When you start shrinking yourself just to make sense of someone leaving. I didn't even recognize who I became. I became someone who checked their phone too much. Someone who reread old messages like they were sacred. Someone who missed a person, who was actively choosing a life without me. And I hated myself for it. But I couldn't stop, because love doesn't turn off like a switch, especially not the kind of love that was real to you. Even if it wasn't real to them, I stayed because I hoped. That's the truth. I hoped they'd realize. I hoped they'd come back. I hoped one day I'd get a message that said, "I'm sorry, I messed up, I miss you too." But days passed. Then weeks. And the silence stayed. And slowly, I started understanding something painful. Some people don't leave with closure. Some people don't explain. They just move on. And you're left holding memories, like they're evidence of something that only existed in your heart. I wasn't asking for perfect. I wasn't asking for forever. I was just asking for real. For honesty. For something that didn't feel like I was the only one trying. But I was. I was the only one choosing. And that kind of loyalty, it doesn't feel beautiful. It feels heavy. It feels lonely. It feels like loving someone who already let you go. I still think about them sometimes, not in a dramatic way, just in quiet moments, when the world is still. When something reminds me of who I was before I learned what it feels like to be left behind. And the truth is, they chose someone else. And I stayed loyal to a version of them that didn't exist anymore. I kept choosing them, even when they stopped choosing me. And maybe that's the saddest part. Not that they left, but that I would have stayed. That I loved so deeply. I forgot what it was supposed to feel like to be loved back. There's no big ending. No closure. Just this quiet understanding that some people become memories while you're still holding their name like a promise. And I guess that's what unreturned loyalty is. It's loving someone who already belongs to someone else while you're still whispering their absence into the dark because they chose someone else. But somehow, I still chose them, even after everything, even after goodbye, even after they were gone. And that is what still hurts the most.